Our guest on this episode of Cuba Cerita has been instrumental in supporting the development of a variety of nations' leaders as a master executive coach. He works tirelessly behind the scenes to help leaders address leadership and business issues, as well as equip leaders with people coaching skills. A man of many talents, an experienced industry professional, a true nation builder. The author of the book Empowering Asian Mindsets Through Coaching, please join me in welcoming Mr. Wai K Leong. Assalamualaikum and a very good morning everyone. Salam sejahtera, Malaysia as a whole. Thank you so much again for joining us for yet another episode of Cuba Cerita. And again, thank you so much for your continuous support, for the comments that we are starting to receive, and we're trying to take in some of those comments to really improve on how we deliver what we plan to do for you. Now, we're at the point where I want to maybe reflect a bit more on even myself as a coach. I go by the name Coach Azman, and it's because I went through a journey to become a coach, a professional executive coach. And that journey obviously was with the help of many others. And today I really want to introduce to you a gentleman who I respect and honor as my mentor as a coach. He is someone who has reached, if you can say, the highest level of executive coaching professionally. And yet, when you meet him later, you will see that he is just someone that obviously inspires, but he's someone that you would maybe just meet every day on the street. Okay? And as we always do, we always like to explore the individual and understand what is it about this individual that has made them to become successful? What is it about the person within? So please allow me to introduce to you a master certified coach, my own mentor as a coach, Mr. Wai K Leong.
Thank you so much for your kind introduction.
I know it was very short. I had to keep it very short.
Yeah, okay.
I know there's a lot more to talk about.
That's fine.
But YK, thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure. And I always believe that at some point in time, we would love to have someone like you to really, in a way, enlighten the audience, the people of Malaysia, of such talents like yours. And it's very much aligned with the DNA of nation builders, because you have really helped to nurture a lot of leadership talent over the years. And as we get to know you a bit more through this program, people also come to realize and respect just how much you've contributed. So we're going to spend maybe about 45 minutes to an hour.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's, as I said, it's not scripted. This is like a coaching session. Yeah.
I like that.
You like that on the other side. Okay.
Yeah.
So we really always like to begin by understanding the person from the person's formative years. So may I ask, can you just share a bit about, YK, where are you from and what was your formative years like?
Okay. So, I was born in Ipoh, but
Ipoh.
I never grew up there because my father was a policeman.
Really?
Yeah. So after, I think, about 6 months or so, he was transferred to Alostar.
Hello, Star.
That's my hometown. I grew up there.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And because he was a policeman, a mechanic,
Uh-huh.
so I live in a barrack, police barrack.
So he was with the with the police forces.
Police. He was a
mechanic.
repairs all the vehicles and so on. So I remembered my childhood days were there are only 3 families in the police barrack. 3 Chinese families. The rest are Malays.
Okay.
So so my kawan-kawan all Malay. So at that time, if you listen to me speak bahasa kan,
Yeah.
you think that
Logat
I
utara
am,
lah.
you
you're
think
Malay.
that I'm a Malay without seeing me.
Oh.
Yeah. So I grew up in Alustar, and my primary school was in Iskandar, Sekolah Iskandar.
Okay.
And then I moved to college, Sultan Abdul Hamid.
Oh, I see the
Yeah.
famous Sultan Abdul Hamid.
Yeah.
Did you play rugby?
No, my size was so small, I didn't qualify.
That's a famous rugby school. Huh?
Yes. Yeah, Abdul Hamid from 1 to Form 6. And then I move on to USM, University of Science. That's where I took my tertiary.
Right. And your field of study in USM was?
Actually, I wanted to be a doctor,
Okay.
but my results was not good enough. So second best, pharmacy.
Pharmacy.
And then after that, I was on shortlist.
Okay.
And then I was chasing the dean every day, and then the dean says, good chance, we will close in this week
Into the medical school.
into the
Pharmacy
pharmaceutical
school. Okay. All right.
And then the bad news came, I didn't get it.
Oh.
So I took up mathematics.
Really? Wow. From medicine to
Yeah.
pharmacy to mathematics.
But if you knew my mathematics, I was really horrible in primary and lower secondary school.
Okay.
But I grew to love mathematics after Form 3. So I took mathematics, and then I also minor in education to be a cikgu.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you did harbor hopes of becoming a teacher.
Actually, after pharmacy, I cannot get in. Anything will do. So security at that time was quite important to get a
Okay.
job security. Kan?
Okay.
So being a teacher probably provides more security than a mathematician. So that's why I opted as elective mathematics
Okay.
and education.
Education.
Yeah.
And did you come from a large family?
No, I have only a elder sister and a younger brother. That's it, a small family. And yeah, so my brother was also in the same school in Iskandar and secondary school. Yeah.
Okay, so actually, I apologize. I tried to research a bit more. So, did you spend time in your career as a teacher? Tell us a bit more.
Okay, so that is a very interesting story. So 4
Cuba
years.
cerita.
So 4 years, I was trained to be a cikgu.
Okay.
Second year, I was sent for so-called industrial training to teach in one of the girls' school convent.
Okay.
Yeah,
In
in Penang.
Penang. Okay.
Yeah. And it was a 1 month training. I was like, they teased me. So that experience wasn't that good,
Are you?
right?
I mean, a school full of girls teasing a young trainee teacher.
Yeah. So when
Isn't
I go
that the
in,
life?
it's like they were laughing, they were giggling, and so
Okay.
on. So that experience actually was not that pleasant.
Oh, okay.
So I after the industrial training, I decided that I don't want to teach.
Oh my goodness.
So I didn't apply for my posting.
Oh.
And I started applying for all the private sectors and so
Okay.
on. Yeah.
So your career led you into which particular industry sector?
So mathematics and education, and I don't want to teach.
Okay.
So I was preparing, do sales lah, or do whatever that comes in private sector.
Okay.
So at that time, there was this company, Intel.
Intel, yes.
Yeah. And they were advertising for a post industrial engineer.
Oh.
So industrial engineering, my field is education.
Yes.
But then desperate lah kan. So I apply. I applied because one of the things that I learned from my parents is that don't put barriers in front of you. All right, like a barrier, like they won't hire me lah, because I'm no engineering. So I just applied. I
And
applied.
this was in the early days of Intel, I guess.
Early days of Intel, there was only 2 buildings.
Right. Yeah.
A1, D3,
Wow.
assembly and test. So I applied, and then I was so surprised because it's like I just throw in lah, and then they called me for interview. My interview lasted for 5 hours.
No way, seriously. Even in
Yes,
those days.
Yes, and the requirement for that job was 3 years experience minimum. All right, have worked in electronic company.
Okay.
All right, able to work with people.
Uh-huh.
All right, and open to working under pressure.
So maybe the third and fourth criteria, you tick the box big lah.
Yeah,
Or they saw that in you
yeah.
after 5 hours lah.
Yeah. So there was this interviewer, Peggy,
Wow, you remember her name, huh?
yeah, I remember people who have influenced my life significantly.
Wow.
So she interviewed me, and then after about 3 hours plus, she says, "Okay, you wait for a while." So she disappeared off, and then she came back. Another person come and interviewed me, and then finally, before I left, she says, "We would like to offer you this job."
And this was really entry level.
Entry level. Entry level.
So even though you didn't have an engineer title to your
Yeah.
to your qualifications,
Yeah.
That's
So
it.
later on, I asked her. I said, "What was it that what was it that made you decide to give me a chance?" And then she says, "One, the program that they want to launch at Intel, which is called indirect labor productivity. That is how to measure the productivity of an engineer, of a maintenance person, of an accountant. So it's very new. So he says that we don't need engineering kind of knowledge."
Right.
But we'll send you for training. And two, most important is because you got to measure people, and people don't like to be measured.
Yes.
So you need to learn how to work with people so that they accept that new approach of measuring productivity in direct labor.
So it's interesting how in reflection again we don't talk about this every day, right?
Yeah.
And you remember her name, but in reflection, do you feel that people saw that you always had a people side of you, even from those days?
I don't know if they saw that, but I was very active in the university.
Right.
I was the president of PPM, we call it.
Persatuan
Pergerakan
Pelajar.
Perkhidmatan Masyarakat. It's a
Oh,
community
okay.
service movement.
Wow.
So I was that. I was heading softball team.
Okay.
So
okay.
I think that builds my my skill in interacting with people.
And they saw those credentials also lah in your
Yeah.
profile.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Intel, was it a long stint in your career?
So 2.5 years with
Okay.
them, and then I moved on. I joined another American company, which is called AP Consulting, and they hired me because of my experience measuring productivity in indirect people. So 2 years with them, moved around Asia Pacific, clients, they open jobs, and then we go in, we measure their productivity, and then we improve their cost.
Was this a subset of human capital or HR in those days? Or did you have other sides of the businesses of clients that you engaged with?
At that time, I was just a productivity consultant.
Productivity consultant. Right.
So that the consulting arm actually brings in jobs, and we
Okay.
just implement. We go in, measure, implement, and we move out. So yeah, that's the skill that I have at that time. That is measuring productivity.
So, from what I do know of you, and I've read of you, you did rise in the rank over the years to become a full-fledged CEO one day, and you led a large group of companies. That particular journey, is there any particular point that you can reflect on today that was maybe a pivotal point that helped you rise to that level of seniority and leadership?
So that's a good question. For me, at that point in time, I didn't imagine to be a CEO of any organization. All right, it's just doing my best in everything that I do.
Okay.
So how I landed in Hong Leong, that's my third company,
Okay.
was that the American company was pitching a job to improve productivity in the Hong Leong subsidiary.
Wow. Okay.
So of course, American cost very expensive, kan?
Uh-huh.
So they hired
They hired
me
you.
to set up that department, and then yeah. So my first 2 years with Hong Leong Group was really at the holding company,
Okay.
overseeing all the subsidiaries, and then measuring their productivity and sending the team in to help them to improve further, and so on. So so that was that, and then another turning point was this. My boss at that time, called Steve Young, and he gave me a chance, and he says, "YK, would you like to run a small company?"
Wow.
All right. So I said, I have no experience running a company, but he says, well, that's your opportunity. So again, my childhood learning is that don't put barriers in front of you, just do it, learn, and grow. So I said, yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Why not?
yeah. But my first 6 months was terrible.
What did you find the most difficult part of, moving into such a role? And
Yes.
again, I mean, barriers down, but you still go to the learning experience. What was one maybe particular memory?
So, so when I was promoted to be a GM of a small subsidiary at that time,
Okay.
I was 30 years old.
Wow, 30 years only.
Yeah, and I was really a go-getter. When people assign me a job, I will get it done, and I try to exceed the expectation. So my concept of leadership at that time was that you lead, and people will try to help you, to support you to grow.
Okay.
All right, and but that concept of leadership didn't quite work, because when I lead, my concept was I gave instructions. All right, I tell people what I like done. All right, and the people in that company was very experienced, and some even much older than me. The department heads was much older than me, 40, 50 years old, And here I am, a young chiku, giving them instructions on what I would like to see, when I like to see that. So after about 6 months, 2 of my department heads resigned. Yeah.
Wow.
So my boss called me up, and then he says, you have to sharpen your leadership skill.
Okay. Sharpen your leadership skills. What does
Yeah.
that mean?
So in other words, I push to get things done.
Okay.
All right. So to him, sharpening leadership skills means you need to work with people, and they feel motivated to work with you and to deliver the results with you. That was when I first stumbled on coaching.
Ah.
So I attended a few seminars, workshops, and then at that time, probably the internet is the dial-up kind of thing. It's
Yeah.
very slow, and
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
drop lines.
Yeah.
I managed to connect to this gentleman in US. His name was Thomas Leonard.
Okay.
So at that time, even coaching in US was very new.
I can
He
imagine.
was the person who actually promoted the coaching as it is right now. We call him the father of modern coaching.
Right.
So in his website, he actually shared the skills of listening, the skills of asking questions, and so on. So I was intrigued by that. I applied some of the techniques, and within 3 to 6 months, my relationship with my team changed. Instead of directing them what I want done, I asked them instead. So that actually spurred my interest in coaching.
And again, you were only in your 30s?
Yeah.
Right? So I think that's also an important aspect for people to understand. You don't need to be advanced in your age to become a coach, to have coaching skills.
Yes.
Coaching skills are a skill, irrespective of your age.
Yes. Coaching is a process.
Yes.
If you are older, then you come with wisdom.
Okay.
But sometimes that wisdom can work against the coaching process, because we tend to want to mentor and so on.
Teach.
Yeah, teach. My 2 children, they are certified coaches, and they coach me
Wow.
because they use a process to help me think.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the value of coaching. And if you combine mentoring and coaching together, it makes learning so much more fun and effective.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I will come back to your family because I read something about you how you raise your kids. But at that particular point, you were in a very good position career-wise. You obviously had come to the understanding of how to lead your teams better, and again, you are a productivity person. So I don't mean to cut the story short, but was there a pivotal point in your life or your career where you decided that I'm going to become a professional certified coach full time?
So I picked up coaching when I was in my 30s, and I applied that in the corporate environment,
Okay.
in my team, and
Okay.
so on. And the more I use it, the more I find how powerful those conversations are. So along that period, I was thinking to myself, I said, I need to spread this. I need to share this. So at the age of 38, I think around there, I decided to resign from the Hong Leong Group and start my business in this area.
Wow.
But my plan was derailed a bit because I joined another company
In between.
in between. So
Okay.
they said, come lah, join us. So I joined them as a group GM. And then I started the business again at the age of 40. So I spent 2 years with them and I
Okay.
started the business.
Still, there was still that awareness and desire to, and again, this was years ago. I guess in those days, even Malaysia, yeah, we had trainers and mentoring was maybe known, but coaching was really in its infancy. Kan?
Yes, it was very infant. I remember when I first started the business in the year 2000. I went around companies introducing coaching, and to them, coaching is synonymous to mentoring.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
but there was this company again, another turning point in my life, GlaxoSmithKline. So I made a cold call. I said that we provide coaching services to organization, and there's this gentleman called Kenny. He was the OD manager there. So he says, interesting. We never knew that there's coaching in Malaysia. Because he's exposed to US.
Is he an American? Was he an American?
No,
He's
no,
Malaysian.
he's Malaysian.
Okay.
So he invited me in, and then I met the MD, David Franklin, which ultimately became a good friend of mine. But I didn't get a job immediately. 1 year later,
1 year later.
Kenny called me up and said that, YK, are you still providing coaching services? I said, yes, I am. We would like to start one. We have 14 leaders, department heads for you to work with.
14.
Yeah,
It's a
so
good-
that
good
was
st- big
really
number.
the turning point of my coaching career. Yeah.
And of course, it's more than 20 years
Yes.
since. But what did you envisage I mean, again, you were only 38. Obviously, you have a growing family, and your wife is a professional too. But
Yes.
at that age, to make such a bold decision, to come out on your own into an industry or a sector which was not known, what were key thoughts about, if I may ask, where you saw yourself being, or how much time are you going to give yourself to make it a success? Were those sort of thoughts going through your mind at that time?
Definitely.
Okay.
So, so my thinking was this at that time. 38, 40, if I give my best 4 or 5 years, don't work, I come back to employment still employable.
Yeah. Okay.
But if I leave at about 45, 50,
Yeah.
doesn't work, it doesn't work,
Yeah.
So that was one.
Okay.
My wife had a stable job, so that helped a bit in terms of financing. And then I was thinking a bit long term, and I say that if I were to try and it doesn't work out, it's okay. I can still go back, but at least I'm not haunted by what if. And then if it works out, then when I retire, then I still have some income coming in and not complete retire.
Yeah.
So those are the things, and again driven by the values that I see in my mom and dad. Don't put barriers in front of you. Take it
Put
one
barriers in
step at
front
a
of you.
time.
Yeah, it's amazing. So it's been a great period since then. You've coached thousands of leaders, and the one thing I like, or I learned about you as a professional. Fine, I became an executive coach professionally under your mentorship, but you tirelessly, after all these years, you still take in cohorts of leaders. You yourself help equip them with leadership skills. they don't become certified coaches per se, but and you are constantly doing it. And from what I've been for a few of your programs also is that your content also is evolving. Because you could easily become stereotyped in what you do. It's a process, right? Um, how do you, in reflection, generate the continuous enthusiasm to do this, and constantly, enjoy it? You're always smiling. You're always the same person, and so sorry, I try to keep it short, but what really drives you after all these years?
So if it had been just money, I would have retired already.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what actually drive me was I see myself helping people create a better world.
Okay.
In relationships and in helping others and so on. So for every cohort that completes the learning, I imagine that they go out and touch people in their lives, and create happy families, happy staff, and so on. So that's my motivation, So we're starting another certification tomorrow.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. You're always also upgrading. Just for the benefit of the viewers. Okay, YK runs his own coaching practice, JMC, right? Yes. And it's one of the better known. And obviously, when I was looking for a school, I found YK. But even as a coach, you are encouraged. Number one, it's part of the International Coach Federation, of which once you're even a board member of the International Coach Federation, International Board. But there's a constant need to improve. There's a constant need to be up to date with coaching. So it's not a mundane practice, yeah? So even I noticed that the certification programs that you offer are constantly evolving.
Yes.
Yeah. How does that come about?
So after every session, every class, I get feedback from participants, and I say that which module was, or which part of the module that you think that you don't quite understand. So from their feedback, I try to look at what makes it difficult for some of these people don't understand, and that's where I create activities, I create games, to make it fun. The other thing is that I always find that adult learning, when they play, the more they play, the more they learn.
Yeah. Experiential learning.
Rather than lecture.
Yeah.
So we built in a lot of activities that will get them to put their experience into the learning process. Since you attended that certification until now, if you attend again, you probably
years ago.
you will probably say that I didn't learn this. I didn't learn that,
I'm sure I didn't.
So
I'm sure I didn't.
Actually, you would have learned that, but the way we approach it would be slightly different. Yeah.
And I also know there's so many books that you have written, and I'm sure other publications. There's one that I just like to touch on. Apart from this powerful performance coaching tips, this is a very good handbook. But one thing that I remember reading years ago was this empowering Asian mindsets through coaching. And I remember when I picked up this book, it was a book that I said, well, it's amongst the many coaching books on the bookshelf. But I was intrigued by in this book, when I started to open it, was about how you actually touched on the Asian mindset, and even some of the, obviously, the barriers that we know of, about trying to preserve harmony and even respecting the elders and hierarchy, the typical Asian mindset. But what really motivated you to really put it into a book? And again, putting a book together is already a huge start. But what drove you? Because I'm sure there are many people who would love to write a book. In fact,
So I get a lot of questions from the participants. That they say, "Well, we understand that coaching might work in US, but in Asian environment, do you really think it works?" And that triggered me to think, okay. So there is this misconception that coaching doesn't work in US because of their our value system, the way we are brought up, our culture, and so on. And this book is actually meant to address that. That whether you are Asians, you are Westerners, and so on, the human values are the same. And and we all need to be respected. We all need to feel belonged. We have our aspirations and so on. It's just that the culture that we are brought up sometimes tend to stifle our humanistic kind of needs and values. Like for example, you heard of Chinese tiger mother kind of thing. They tell you what to do, and that's because of the need to inculcate values, Chinese values, or even Malays or Indians. They have those value system, and while that is good from one angle, sometimes it stifles growth from another.
These are the mental barriers that
Yeah.
that you talked about.
Yeah.
So again, and I like how even in this book your family was involved. But can I just understand what's it like being a father who is a coach? Okay, and the reason why I say that is because sometimes at the dinner table in my home,
Yes.
my kids go, "Oh my God, Ayah is going into his coaching mode." I don't just ask how was your day.
Yes.
But tell me, what was it like, or how was it raising your two? And your two are really individuals in their own right, from what I know of them, and of course your wife too is a real top professional. So tell me, what's it really? What do you feel like being that father in the family, and raising your kids? Because I know, sorry, you tell. I better not say anything. You say it.
Yeah, I have. When I first learned coaching, I was also applying that to my young children.
Okay.
And how do I apply that? Is really about helping them to make their own decisions.
Right.
Right. So I remembered even choosing schools at one time. My son, he wanted to switch school. So I just asked a few questions to get him to think about the reason why he wants to choose school and so on. And I know that being young, their rationale, their thinking, and their reasons for wanting to change school may not be as holistic as the way we see things.
True.
All right. But nevertheless, one of my belief system is that learn from your mistakes.
All right.
So while I feel at that time that switching school was not the best choice, I allowed him to. I said, Ken, you have think through this, right? And do you still want? And he says, yes, he wanted. So I brought him to 3 other schools, and he chose one of the schools. So I paid deposit and all this. It was not cheap.
Yeah. And it's a private school, lah.
Yes, a private school. And after one day, he says, Dad, I don't want that school.
And he would have been what age at that time?
He was around about 10,
Oh goodness.
11 years old.
So it was an expensive process to go through.
Yeah. So I just say that, okay, what did you learn from here? It cost me so much, and if you learn something, I will consider this.
What's the return on my investment?
So long story short, I use the coaching process to help them to think, make decisions, and so on.
And what does your wife say? No, Wai K, how can you entertain these little boys? I mean,
my wife was very supportive.
it's
all
your
right?
money now.
So he says, since he's unhappy in this school, let him change.
Your son is your elder one.
Younger one.
Your younger, so your daughter, did she go through the same process too?
No, but he went through, that kind of conversations.
Okay.
And then he, of course, children being children, sometimes they like parents to make some decisions for them, but I don't make decisions for them. I want them to learn and fail. And then when he was in Form 5, after finishing his exam, he was waiting for results. Over dinner, he says, Dad, can I sit into your class to just observe the certification class? So I said, be a participant, join us, And then he joined. And then first day, the participants discovered that he's my son.
Oh.
So they asked him, so what was it like growing up with a coach father?
It's exactly the same question I just asked.
And he says, tough.
Tough.
Because I had to decide everything for myself, And he says that, and the reason why I joined is because I wanted to learn the method of empowering people. Because when he saw himself before and after, the coaching actually helped, even though it was not an easy conversation. Yeah.
So as a young boy, you skipped over your daughter. What did you find was her different
My
approach?
daughter was an angel.
Aren't all daughters angels?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. She was a good student. She just does things. Whereas my son is more critical.
Your son, I understand, is even is it parkour
Yeah,
expert?
yes,
And I've
yes,
watched some of his videos.
yes, and he started parkour because of my fault.
Your fault.
Yeah.
Because you let him choose.
So like all kids, right?
Uh-huh.
They are engaged in the video games and so on.
Okay.
And that affected his studies.
Oh.
So in one of the conversations I had with him, I said, Min, I want you to decide when to study and when not to study.
Okay.
But the thing that's important for me is that these few subjects, I want you to score good grades.
Okay.
All right. If you don't achieve a certain grade, can we agree that you will stop your video games until you improve?
All right.
So being young, he says, okay, Dad, And of course, he didn't make the grades.
Oh, he didn't make the grades.
He didn't make the grades. So during the teacher would run through the results with me about my son, and before the teacher ran through, I said, Teacher, I want my son to explain to me. All right. So the teacher paused and I said, so how do you feel about your results? And then he kept quiet. And then after that I said, so do you remember our agreement about when you're not achieving certain grades for these subjects? What happens? Then he says, yes. Then I said, are you going to honor that agreement?
Oh, sure.
Then he kept quiet.
In front of the teachers or what?
Yeah. So, but I would say that he is a man of his words. So when we came back, he locked up the computer, all right? He didn't touch the computer. But being young with so much time, he decided to choose something else. So
Which was
he chose parkour. And I didn't know he chose parkour until one day he says, Dad, can you help me? And we went to the back garden there. And he says, can you put your hands like this? And I'm going to do a backflip over your hand.
Okay.
So that was the first time I discovered.
So, because I remember years ago, you even showing me a YouTube video.
Yes.
What's his name again?
Ken.
Ken.
Yeah.
And if people or rather look into YouTube, Ken in the parkour, they can. Some of his stuff is amazing. This was years ago. Is he still doing it till today?
He's still doing it.
Wow.
He's still doing it. One of his biggest achievement was he studied in after Form 5, he went to Scotland, St. Andrews. Yeah. He studied there. And when we went there, he took me to one place in London. And he says, one day I'll jump through this. And it is like a it is a ramp where the car go to basement. All right, and it is about 14 feet in distance. And he will jump from one end to another to cross it. So I said, don't ever try that. That's very dangerous. And the drop is more than 10 feet.
Ooh. But yet?
Asking for permission is tougher than asking for forgiveness, right? So he did it on his fourth year. He had those parkour friends, he did it for fourth year. And then he sent a video, Dad, see what I did.
Yeah.
I was proud of him.
Okay.
At the same time, also, I was a little bit apprehensive, but yeah.
But that's the world that they're in today. And which maybe brings me back to another point. You've been coaching leaders for so many years, and of course, you've been helping equip them. This generation today, maybe your children included, what do you see as maybe a few differences in terms of attitude, desires? And let's talk about positives. I'm not trying to put them down, but what do you see as being differences in leaders today?
So, younger leaders now, they are more knowledgeable.
Yes.
all right, with the internet and all the medias,
Mm-hmm.
they are more, they have more freedom to express themselves. Um, and because of that, their leadership style works well with younger people, right? However, for older leaders who use their traditional style to work with these younger generation leaders, it doesn't work quite as well. All right. So, so I would say that the younger generations, they are more creative. They are more. They learn coaching so much faster because they have no baggage to hold on to.
So they are very receptive to coaching?
They are very receptive to coaching.
Good.
Yeah, and as I compare my students, right, the older generation students and the younger one, the younger one takes coaching like a fish to water.
Really?
Yeah, very fast. No baggage. You tell me this is coaching. Okay, I will try. I'll experiment. Yeah, the older would have some experiences that blocks that learning.
True. True. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And of course, with the advent of technology, do you encourage, or is it a topic that comes up about physical, one-to-one coaching versus virtual coaching? Do you have a view on that?
Before the COVID, I always preferred face to face, and definitely face to face will have an advantage over virtual.
Okay.
But after COVID, during the COVID time, we had to do virtual. I discovered that coaching can be done virtually pretty effectively. So training, on the other hand, I find is difficult or less effective if you do it virtually.
Yeah.
Training, facilitation,
Yeah.
but coaching is a conversation.
And it's usually one-to-one,
Yeah.
private, right? Anyway. And again, it's at the comfort of both coach and coachee. Oh, interesting. Good, good, good. Wow, this has been a very insightful conversation. So, if you had a word of advice to someone out there who, having maybe listened to this conversation, and say, actually, coaching is something that I should consider, or even going the route of becoming something like this of a professional, what would be maybe one or two top pieces of advice that you'd give them?
I wouldn't call it advice,
Okay.
but more of the value they will get from coaching, learning how to coach. Because while coaching is a skill that you use to help someone else, it also helps you to grow. The way you see things, your broadened perspective, the way we are more patient with others, the way we focus on others rather than on ourselves. So when someone learns coaching, the side effect, I call it the skill to help others, is a side effect. But the real benefit factor is themselves.
Yes, very much.
That they learn how to appreciate diversity, and they learn how to value differences in people and so on, and that builds a better world.
Yeah. Wow. Very, very nice words of wisdom, and I obviously, when I'm listening to you, it resonates with me when I first decided that this is something that I want to make a full profession of. Okay, all right, good. Well, it's come to a point, YK, where I really feel we had a very great conversation, and I just want to maybe sort of end the session, if I may, with a little bit of a how do I say, we call it in Melayu kita kelakar sikit lah. Yeah. So I'm going to hand you a card, which has got true or false on either side.
Right.
Okay. And we're going to do this like a quick fire question. I've got some questions which I have just to get to know you better and the audience. So all you need to do is to either flip it true or false.
Okay.
And I'm terming it never have I ever. So I'm going to read a statement. I say never have I ever. And then you just say true or false.
Okay.
Okay. So first question is, never have I ever forgotten an appointment. Okay. Never have I ever forgotten a coaching appointment. Also
Also false.
Okay. All right. Never have I ever lost my temper with my children.
Also false.
Oh, so you have lost your temper?
I have.
Oh, I can't imagine you losing your
I
temper.
have, yeah. But my temper is not in the form of maybe shouting at the top of my voice.
Okay.
You're right.
Okay.
It's
So it's a very moderate, calm, smiling, loss of temper.
They know I'm angry.
And they know you're angry. They know you've made the wrong move.
Yeah.
Okay. Never have I ever skipped golf to go diving.
Skip golf to go diving. Probably false.
False, you haven't.
I enjoy diving more than golf sometimes.
You do, eh?
Yeah.
Okay. What is it about diving that makes you feel, the feeling of being extra special about diving?
So when I dive, it is like I'm in my own world.
Yeah.
There's no distraction. It's just me and the environment.
Yeah.
So and because of the buoyancy, you feel in a way weightless, and you're just floating around, and you enjoy the fishes and the corals and so on.
And you do it as a family activity too, right?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's
that's
a lot
nice.
of me time in that diving experience.
Okay.
And my 2 children dive, so
Okay.
it helps. Yeah.
Okay. This next question or statement is, we may get your wife to validate. Never have I ever forgotten an anniversary date. Okay.
Actually, quite often. So now what I do is I put it on my phone.
And
1
you
week
still
before
forget.
that,
1
ring,
week before.
and then a few days before it triggers, and then the day it triggers again.
And then the day after also it triggers again.
Yeah.
Okay. Never have I ever rotan my son.
It's true.
True. Okay. Never have I ever myself kena rotan.
It's false. My parents are pretty strict, so there was one time I did some very naughty thing. Kena whack like mad.
Okay. And the final question is, never have I ever lied on Cuba Cerita.
Never have I ever lied.
So you haven't lied lah.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I'm just teasing you. Actually as a coach you can't have convoluted questions, but I just wanted to convolute the question.
Yeah.
Anyway, YK, I know it's been a pleasure. I really am very happy to have invited you, and thank you so much for consenting to join us. And who knows, there may be another opportunity in future where we will have to invite you again. I'd also like to take the opportunity. It's actually Chinese New Year. We're just around the corner now. So, Gongzi Fa Chai. The dates between Hari Raya and Gongzi Fa Chai are getting closer and closer now. So in a few years' time, we'll be having a Gongzi Raya, and that'll be another nice time to celebrate. Yeah.
Awesome.
So thank you once again, and I wish you all the best for the rest of 2024. Yeah.
Thank you, Azman. Thank you for inviting me, and wish you all the best for this year too.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your support. Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much again. We had another lovely session. And for me as a coach, it's nice to renew acquaintances also. So I hope that you felt equally fulfilled watching. And for those of you outside there, maybe thinking about career changes or even upskilling, coaching is certainly an area that you should consider. So until we see you again, thank you so much for joining this episode of Cuba Cerita, and please continue to support us, and we look forward to seeing you again. Assalamualaikum, selamat sejahtera, and have a very good week ahead.